At my daughter Mia's 7th birthday party, the room was filled with the cheerful sounds of children's laughter and the sweet scent of sugar. When the moment came, my wife, Clara, carried out the cake, its 7 candles flickering like tiny stars. Everyone gathered around the table and began to sing. Mia closed her eyes, her little face scrunched in concentration, and as she blew out the flames, she made her wish aloud in perfect German. I wish Adrian could be my dad this year. The joyful singing sputtered to a halt. In the sudden silence, Clara just smiled and gently patted Mia's head. "Soon enough, sweetie," she said softly, her voice reassuring. "Your wish will come true." A sudden coldness washed over me, a chilling disconnect between my mind and body. My fingers went numb, losing their grip on the heavy platter I was holding, which was laden with the slices of cake I was about to serve. I watched, as if in slow motion, as the beautifully decorated cake tilted, slid, and then crashed onto the polished wooden floor in a mess of sponge cream and shattered expectations. Clara's head snapped toward me, her brow furrowed with what looked like concern. "Leo, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with surprise. I shook my head quickly, forcing a smile onto my face that felt brittle and thin. "It just slipped," I managed to say, my own voice sounding distant. But inside, a quiet storm was raging. I knew exactly what had happened. I understood German perfectly, a fact that seemed to have completely slipped her mind. My hold on the cake had faltered because her casual confirmation of our daughter's devastating wish caught me completely off guard. She seemed to have conveniently forgotten that I had spent my entire childhood in Germany, only moving back for university, which is where we met. When she discovered my background, she had enthusiastically taken up learning German, claiming it was a way for her to feel closer to my roots. I was the one who had patiently taught our daughter the language, spending countless hours with her, turning lessons into games. Now, Clara was on the floor, efficiently wiping up the mess with a paper towel. A moment later, she salvaged a piece of cake that had remained on the platter and held it out for me. "Here, honey," she said with a warm smile. I instinctively took a step back, shaking my head again. "I'm not really hungry," I told her. Mia, oblivious to the undercurrent of tension, stuffed a large forkful of cake into her mouth, her cheeks puffing out. "I'm still here, you guys," she mumbled around the mouthful. "You have to tone down all the lovey-dovey stuff." She was a beautiful child, with the same bright eyes and lovely smile as her mother. Clara wrapped an arm around mine, leaning her head against my shoulder and raising her eyebrows playfully at Mia. "Being good to your father is just part of my routine, sweetie. You'd better get used to it." In response, Mia put her plate down and ran over, curling up in my embrace and hugging my legs tightly. "No way," she declared. "It's my birthday today, so Dad is all mine." I felt her small arms squeeze me, but I couldn't bring myself to react as I normally would, with a reciprocal hug and a gentle pat on her head. She sensed my stillness and looked up at me, her lower lip pushing out in a pout. "Dad, why don't you hug me back? Are you and Mom picking on me?" Clara chuckled from beside me, but I just stared down at my daughter, a strange sense of detachment settling over me. "I was just thinking," I said, my voice flat. "Maybe you two have found someone out there that you like better than me." Mia's little body went rigid against my legs. "Dad, you're talking nonsense." Clara's smile also vanished, replaced by a look of concern. She softly stroked my hand. "Leo, you're the one we love most. Why would you ever think something like that?" I pulled my hand away from her touch as if it had been burned. They were trying to trick me, to smooth over the truth I had just heard with my own ears. They seemed to forget that I despise lies more than anything in this world. I had warned her when we got married, standing before all our friends and family, that any form of deception would be the end of us. I would leave, go back to Germany, and never see her again if she were ever unfaithful. She had vowed, with tears in her eyes, to always be honest. I had no idea how long this betrayal had been going on, but it was clear that even my own daughter had sided with someone else. 5 years of teaching her, of building a bond, felt as if they had been erased in an instant. For a moment, I thought I might break down, that I might start screaming. But surprisingly, an unnatural calm settled over me as I began to mentally calculate where I would go next. I gently pushed my daughter away. "I'm tired," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "You two go ahead and enjoy the party." Mia stared at me in disbelief, her face crumbling when I didn't offer my usual comfort. Her cries started to fill the room, and Clara rushed to her side, whispering words of comfort. There, Mia. Don't cry. Maybe Daddy's just not feeling well. I'll go check on him, okay, sweetheart?" Through her sobs, Mia sniffed and nodded. As I was closing my bedroom door behind me, Clara slipped inside. At that exact moment, a notification lit up her phone screen on the nightstand. "Want to come over tonight?" it read. She didn't see it. Her attention focused solely on me as she approached with a worried expression. "What's wrong, honey?" I looked down at her phone, then back at her. "Tom, I saw your message pop up just now," I said calmly. I reached for the phone and unlocked it right in front of her. A flicker of panic crossed Clara's face, but she quickly tossed the phone aside, trying to demonstrate her loyalty. "My main goal in life is making my husband happy," she said, her voice smooth. "Who is anybody else?" As she spoke, she leaned in, her eyes filled with a manufactured desire. "Honey," she murmured, nestling closer and whispering into my ear, "I knew you couldn't resist me." Her head rested against my neck, but before anything more could happen, the door burst open with a series of frantic knocks. "Dad, Mom, I don't feel well!" Clara snapped back to reality, quickly moving to open the door. "Mia, what's wrong?" Our daughter was curled up, hugging her belly and speaking in German. "Mom," she said, not bothering to lower her voice, "I pretended to have a stomachache so we could leave. You said you'd take me to see Adrian today." Her acting was impressive, tears welling in her eyes. It would have completely fooled me if I hadn't understood every single word. Clara's face showed a flash of anxiety as she processed the situation. "Don't worry. Mommy's taking you to the hospital." She scooped Mia up into her arms and turned to me. "You stay home. We'll be back soon." Our daughter glanced at me over her mother's shoulder, her face streaked with fake tears. I smoothed her cheek gently, my voice soft. "It's okay. Daddy will be here waiting for you." Her eyes lit up for a second before she nodded, and then she was gone with Clara. A little while later, looking out the window, I saw my perfectly energetic daughter holding a gleeful Clara's hand as they walked down the street, with no sign of any illness. I understood then that they would not be returning that night. Calmly, I began to arrange my move back to Germany. Because of my frequent visits in the past, the visa office responded quickly. If I could gather all the necessary documents, I could be gone in 2 weeks. Once I had set the plan in motion, I turned off my computer and smiled at my own reflection. Just 2 more weeks until I was home. The next morning there was still no sign of them. Only a text message from Clara. "Hey honey, Mia is still under observation at the hospital. We'll be back tomorrow." It came with a picture of them sitting on a hospital bench. My daughter still had a smudge of whipped cream on her face from the day before, even though she had been perfectly clean when they left. They couldn't even put on a solid performance. Without replying, I headed out to begin my visa paperwork. As I was leaving, my eyes were drawn to the watch on my wrist. It was from my favorite brand, a limited edition model that was only available for in-person purchase in Germany. When Clara had found out how much I wanted it, she had flown all the way there, waited in line for 8 hours, and bought it for me. At that moment, I had felt like the happiest man in the world. Now I shook my head, took off the watch, and tossed it into the trash can by the curb. After finishing with my paperwork, I happened to run into Clara and Mia on the street. "Leo, what are you doing here?" Clara asked, surprised. I quickly tucked the papers in my hand into my jacket pocket. "Just handling some things. I have to travel to Germany for work soon." I saw a flash of panic in Clara's eyes, but she quickly composed herself. "But your German isn't that good," she said, testing me. I smiled, letting a small lie slip out. "That's why I need you to teach me." She let out a visible sigh of relief and jogged over to take my hand. "Great. Let's go home together." Mia grabbed my other hand, holding a shopping bag and beaming. "Yay, I know a little bit too, and I want to teach Mom." They both laughed, each holding one of my hands. Their joy seemed real, but mine was just a facade, and a chill in my heart spread endlessly. We were a long way from our neighborhood, and especially far from the hospital near our house. The only logical reason for them to be in this area was that this Adrian person lived nearby. The cloying fragrance coming from both of them was overpowering, and after a few minutes I couldn't bear it any longer. I coughed a few times, and Clara quickly asked what was wrong. I took a disposable mask from my bag and put it on. "The perfume is making my nose uncomfortable," I said coolly. "My sinus issues, you know." They never wore perfume at home, specifically to avoid triggering it. For a moment, they both looked even more flustered. "Maybe it's the smell from Mia's neighbor at the hospital," Clara explained hurriedly. My daughter let go of my hand and ran to her mother's side. "I don't want to bother Dad either," she said, though the young child couldn't hide the look of contentment on her face. I couldn't understand why she seemed to dislike me so much, why she was so happy to be away from me whenever she got the chance. I didn't try to cheer her up as I usually would, just gave a non-committal reply. She paused, surprised. The glance she shared with her mother was full of bewilderment. Back home, Mia presented me with an Hermes tie clip, her eyes twinkling. "Look, Dad, Mom and I picked it out. We spent a long time choosing." In the past, whenever Clara sensed I was unhappy, she would find ways to cheer me up, often with a coveted gift. This time they were both anxiously awaiting my reaction. I sighed internally, but managed to smile as I took the tie clip. "I really like it. Thank you." Clara's face lit up. "I'm so glad. So, what do you want for lunch?" My daughter chimed in, "I want sweet and sour ribs today." Clara picked her up, moving closer to me. "We should ask if Dad wants them too." I held the tie clip tighter and nodded with a grin. "I'll have whatever Mia likes." "Yay, thank you, Dad," she exclaimed, pulling Clara towards the kitchen. As I watched them go, a small fragment of the heaviness in my heart seemed to lift. I settled onto the sofa and opened my laptop to start some work. But almost immediately, a friend request popped up on my phone. It was from a man's profile, and without thinking much about it, I accepted. Instantly, a message came through. "So, do you like the tie clip I picked?" I knew at once it was Adrian, the man they had been talking about, trying to provoke me. In that moment, I regretted the small mercy I had felt just moments before. The thought of just staying, of trying to keep things civil, vanished. Some people, it seemed, just had more layers to their deceit. I didn't reply, but Adrian didn't seem to mind. He sent over a picture of him and Clara drinking from the same cup. It was a live photo, and through the reflection in the glass behind them, I could see it was taken by my daughter. I could even hear her voice, clear as day. Mom and Adrian are perfect together. Adrian sent another message. "What do you think of our couple picture? There's plenty more. I put my phone face down on the table, fighting the urge to gag. A wave of disgust washed over me, and I leaned over the arm of the sofa, dry heaving into the trash can. "Leo, what's wrong? Don't scare me like that." Clara rushed over from the kitchen. I couldn't throw up anything, but I struggled to stand, blaming the feeling on some oily food I had eaten that morning. My daughter handed me a cup of warm water. "Here, Dad, have some water." I looked at the cup, and the photo of them sharing a drink flashed in my mind again. I quickly pushed the cup away, turning back to the trash can and retching some more. The water splashed onto my daughter's dress, and she pouted before bursting into tears. "I hate you, Dad. Why do you always need comforting? You're nothing like Adrian. He spoils me," she cried, her voice getting louder and louder. After all, she was just a child, too overwhelmed to realize she shouldn't be saying such things. Clara's face darkened. "Mia, what are you saying? Who is Adrian?" I asked gently, holding my daughter's hand. She sobbed deeply, barely hearing me. I knelt down, looking closely at the child I had cared for so deeply, who now felt like a stranger. When she was just 10 months old, I noticed her love for drawing, so I spent half a year's income to create a dedicated art room for her in our home. She enjoyed bedtime stories, so no matter how tired I was from work, I came up with new ones every night, a tradition I had continued to this day. Her stomach had been sensitive since she was a baby, so I spent a huge amount of time planning her meals, crafting special menus just for her. I always thought my dedication had paid off, that she knew how to cheer me up when I was down. "So," I asked her softly, "do you think I'm just forcing you to be with me?" Clara interjected, her voice sharp. "No, she's just saying things. Adrian is just a character she met in kindergarten during a play. Mia, tell Dad the truth," she insisted. But our daughter, deeply upset, heard nothing. She broke away from my grasp, shouting, "I meant it! I really hate you! Mom, didn't you promise you would get me a new dad after my birthday? I don't want to wait anymore." Clara quickly covered our daughter's mouth, her eyes wide with panic. "Don't say such things, sweetheart." She then picked Mia up and started carrying her to her room. "She might just be tired." I slowly got up and tugged at Clara's sleeve. "Well," I said, my voice dangerously quiet, "if our daughter wants a new dad, let's grant her wish." "Leo, don't say that. I can't handle losing you," she pleaded, before disappearing into Mia's room. As she rushed off, holding her daughter's mouth shut, I slumped down by the couch, feeling completely drained. The defiant attitude I had adopted just vanished. For a moment, I even considered that this was a chance to make a clean break, to divorce Clara and go back to Germany. Then, a new worry surfaced. Clara wouldn't let me go. At some point, she returned, sitting beside me and taking my hand. "Honey, don't be mad. You know Mia is only 7. She's probably just repeating something she heard and doesn't really mean it." Her grip tightened on my hand. "So you were just speaking in anger, right?" Her eyes had an almost obsessive possessiveness that made my skin crawl. I knew if I openly said I wanted to leave, she would do everything in her power to stop me. I forced a smile. "Yeah, I was just upset." Clara visibly relaxed. Over the next few days, Clara stayed uncomfortably close, more attentive than ever. She hardly left my side, even working from home. Her phone would often chime, and I noticed Mia's eyes would light up every time it did. It must have been Adrian's custom ringtone. Clara would glance at the phone, decline the call, and reassure me it was just an annoying competitor from work. But despite her constant presence, I couldn't find a good opportunity to pack my things. I only had a week left until my planned departure. Since Clara and I had started dating, I had rarely returned to Germany. My parents had moved there long ago and had only visited for our wedding and a few New Year's holidays. I had tried suggesting a family visit to Germany with Clara before, but she always claimed she was too busy with work. Eventually, I stopped asking. Then, I got another message from Adrian. Attached was a photo of a visa. "Doesn't matter if you won't let Clara accompany you," the message read. "She's already agreed to go to Germany with me anyway. You can stay at home and see how your wife and daughter both prefer me." I shrugged it off. Another message followed. "Watch as I take them away from you." The next time her phone rang, Clara answered it right in front of me. I could hear Adrian's voice clearly through the line. Clara was obviously flustered, whispering into her hand. "I'll be there soon," she said. Our daughter quickly stood up. "Mom, are you going to the office? I want to come too." Since she was 4, she had often gone with Clara, supposedly for some kind of early learning program. I now suspected it was just an excuse to see Adrian. Clara gave me a questioning look. "Honey, I really need to go." "I understand. Go ahead," I replied softly. Then I smiled at Mia. "If you want to go with Mommy, you can." Her eyes lit up, and she quickly took Clara's hand, ready to leave. Before they left, Clara promised she would be back for dinner. Once they were gone, I went to my study and printed a divorce agreement. Over the years, I'd signed many documents for Clara. Our signatures were quite similar. I picked up a pen and signed my name with a sense of finality. I felt like I could finally breathe. That evening, Clara kept her word and came home. I sensed a faint, fresh fragrance on her, like she had just showered. She gave me a look that was both affectionate and longing, then threw her arms around me, burying her face in my shoulder. "Honey, it's been so long," she murmured, pressing close. I resisted the powerful urge to push her away. "What, isn't Adrian enough for you?" I thought. But Clara, oblivious to my mood, persisted. Before things could go further, I spoke in a raspy voice. "Clara, how about we have a drink first?" I suggested, framing it as a romantic game. Her eyes twinkled with a mix of surprise and excitement. "All right," she agreed. I had already prepared a drink for her, spiked with a strong sleeping aid. As she drank and her eyes started to glaze over, she eventually fell asleep on the sofa. I let out a sigh of relief and picked up my phone, only to see a new photo from Adrian. It was a close-up of him and Clara, her face flushed. "She's definitely more than enough," his message read. I chuckled and sent him a picture of the sleeping Clara beside me on our sofa. "Seems like she found your scent too much and came back to me," I typed. I also sent a recording of Clara murmuring affectionate things in her sleep. "You," Adrian replied, almost immediately, and began to rant. I couldn't be bothered, so I turned off my phone and went to bed. With only 3 days to go before my flight to Germany, things moved quickly. When Clara woke up, she had forgotten most of the previous night due to her hangover and leaned on my shoulder, mumbling. Instinctively, I started to dry heave. I couldn't believe my physical aversion to her was so strong. Clara snapped awake, patting my back. "Babe, what's wrong?" I played along, lying that my stomach felt off. Her face filled with worry, and she quickly got dressed to take me to the hospital. As we were leaving, we ran into our daughter, who had just woken up. She rushed over. "Daddy, what's wrong?" I stayed silent as Clara answered for me. In the car, Mia carefully rubbed my stomach, and Clara ran 3 red lights to get me to the hospital. At the attending doctor's office, I spotted a familiar face. Of course, the doctor was Adrian. No wonder Mia had to go to the hospital on her birthday. The moment he opened the door and saw me, Adrian's eyes widened. Clara casually helped me to a seat. "Doctor, can you check my husband's stomach?" she asked earnestly. Her acting was truly award-worthy. After a moment of shock, Adrian regained his composure and, using his professionalism, examined me before finding an excuse to get me alone in his office. "Are you here to mess with me? There's nothing wrong with you," he said, tossing my report at me. I know, I scoffed. But you're a doctor. Can't you fudge some records for me? He looked at me incredulously. Why should I? Faking this could cost me my job. The deal is, I'll divorce her, I said plainly. A woman like her will cheat on you just like she cheated on me. It's better if I set you both free. Adrian only cared about the last part. Are you really going to divorce her? I showed him a picture of the signed divorce papers on my phone. Of course, but you have to keep quiet about how I tricked her. Adrian gave me a peculiar look. Fine, deal. He used his position to write a vague report, and I left the divorce papers with him, instructing him to mail them to my home in exactly 1 week. After that, there was just 1 day left. Clara had returned to her usual self, and their trip to Germany with Adrian was on. She made an excuse about her own work trip, and our daughter pretended to be excited to go with her. We were all pretending, but when she saw me packing a large suitcase, she paused. Darling, are you sure you need to take all that? I kept my back to her, continuing to pack. I need it all, I said. I turned with a grin to calm her fears. I'll be back. I'll even get you a gift. Her eyes lit up, and our daughter scampered over at the mention of a gift. I chuckled, patting her head. You get something too. That night, as we lay in bed, Clara hugged me, a touch of unease in her voice. Babe, you're not hiding anything from me, right? For some reason, I'm really scared. I let out a silent breath and turned to hug her. You're overthinking it. You're probably just not used to me and Mia being apart for so long. To reassure her, I patted her back until she fell asleep. Then I stopped. By the faint moonlight coming through the window, I looked at the woman beside me. From our college days to our marriage, to our daughter turning 7, her features had only grown more beautiful. If it weren't for this incident, I would have never known that the tenderness was fake and the coldness was real. The next morning, Clara and Mia left early for the airport. My own flight was scheduled for the next day, or so they thought. Our daughter was excited, chattering away all morning about her upcoming trip. I smiled in silence, watched them head for the airport, and saw them vanish from my sight. I then swiftly grabbed my own luggage and headed straight there myself. My phone kept buzzing with messages from Clara. At the gate, I blocked her number and boarded my flight to Germany without a second glance. On the other side of the world, after picking up Adrian, Clara noticed the red exclamation mark next to the message she had sent me. In the back seat, our daughter hugged her tightly. Great! Now I can finally play with the dad I love, she cheered. As for me, I had already reached out to my parents in Germany. Before I even got off the plane, my mother's voice, laced with both joy and reproach, came through the phone. My precious son, you finally decided to come back and see us. My dad let out a gruff scoff. So you still remember you have a home here? Taking both of their hands at the arrivals gate, I told them gently, I'm divorced. My mom was too shocked to speak, but my dad stayed calm. I knew it, he said. That marriage was doomed from the start. He was right. Back then, he had vehemently opposed our marriage. Now I hung my head low, ready to listen. I've made up my mind, I told them firmly. I'm not remarrying. I want to make it on my own. My mom shot me a look of approval. A couple of days later, as I was sitting in a town square enjoying the pleasant weather, I heard an incredulous voice call my name. I never thought our paths would cross again so soon. But Germany, it turned out, was a small world. Neither of us looked like we were there for work. I greeted her confidently in German. Hello, Clara. She froze instantly. You can speak it, she stammered. Before I could reply, my mom chimed in from beside me, also in German. You crazy kid, of course he can. I can speak it too. I burst into laughter, seeing Clara's face pale. I guess she finally remembered I grew up here. I casually repeated something she had said during my birthday celebration. Stunned, she couldn't hold back her questions, and I sneered, showing her the chat history with Adrian on my phone. Her face turned ashen as she scrolled through it, and she nearly dropped the phone. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I only found it amusing. Can you forgive me?" She tried to grab my hand, but before she could, my dad rushed up and kicked her hard, sending her to the ground. "Get away from my son, you scumbag!" he yelled. Clara struggled to stand, coughing and crying. "Please, just hear me out. It was an accident between Adrian and me." Uninterested, I walked over and slapped her across the face. "You seemed to forget I hate liars the most. Yet you all loved acting in front of me. I asked you so many times, but you denied it, treating me like a fool. Now you want me to listen? Get lost." I turned and left with my parents. Just before our cab pulled away, Clara caught up, holding on to the window. "Can't I at least have a way to contact you? What about our daughter? Have you given up on her too?" My dad pulled her away, coldly warning her. "Approach my son again, and you're going home crippled." Inside the cab, I quietly stared ahead. I once told her I'd grant her a gift. Letting our daughter wish for a different dad was perfect. She had taught her that. Now it was coming back to her. Before leaving, Adrian had told me about the things Clara had said behind my back, how she had poisoned our daughter's mind against me. No wonder the child I had raised myself had come to despise me. Thinking of that, my heart grew even colder. "Let's get moving," I told the driver. I watched her trip and fall as she tried to keep up, rolling over a few times before she vanished from my view. I knew there would be no more chances for us. Back in her own country, the divorce papers arrived. Our daughter cheered upon seeing the official-looking package. "Hooray! I can really swap dads!" Only Clara's face darkened as she read them. "Why? How did this go through?" she shrieked at Adrian. "And you, why did you provoke him?" Startled, Adrian defended himself. "I just told her the truth. You wanted the divorce, didn't you?" In a rage, Clara threw his luggage out the door. "Get out!" Seeing this, our daughter was dumbfounded, pleading with her mother on Adrian's behalf. "Why send him away? Isn't this what we wanted?" Faced with the harsh reality, Clara was filled with regret. She looked coldly at our daughter. "Then you can leave with him." Our daughter was completely stunned. "Why, Mom?" Even Adrian stood there, his eyes welling with tears. "You came to me first," he said, his voice cracking. "You said you were tired of your family and wanted to marry me." "Shut up!" Clara screamed, closing her eyes. "I regret it. The only person I love is my husband. As for you, just get lost." Adrian couldn't hold back his tears. Their daughter anxiously tried to comfort him, but realizing there was no turning back, he pushed her away. "Get out of here. Don't call me Dad. I only entertained you to please your mother." He grabbed his suitcase and walked away. The daughter's eyes filled with tears as she got up. "What about my dad? Do I not have a dad anymore?" Shirley stood still, hesitating to open the door, because she had lost her husband, too. In the following months, she couldn't pick herself up. Her company's shares plummeted until it went bankrupt. Without my careful attention to her diet, my daughter couldn't eat or sleep well. One night, in a moment of utter confusion and despair, Clara almost strangled her own child, only snapping out of it when the girl was nearly unconscious in her hands. Now, without a career and knee-deep in debt, she could only kneel by her daughter's bedside, crying silently. "I'm sorry. If your dad were here, things would be different." Elsewhere, I let out a sudden yawn. My mom heard it and immediately found a jacket for me to wear. Grinning, I asked her, "Mom, what's for dinner tonight?" She laughed and tapped my forehead. "Look at you, always interested in food the moment you get home. What about that ambition you were talking about? I chuckled and linked my arm with hers. No rush at all.